I'm Eliana. I work in social media at Crown and Random House, and today we are going to be talking to Catherine Price, author of How to Break Up with Your Phone. So let's get here, and we're just waiting for her to connect.
Did
Hopefully,
that work?
it worked. Hello.
Hi, I was trying to use my iPad. I guess it didn't like that very much. So
That's totally fine. Happy to have you here.
thanks for having me. Hello,
Yeah,
everyone.
no problem. So do you want to quickly introduce yourself and let everyone know a little bit about who you are and the book?
Sure, I'm Catherine Price. I'm a science journalist. I'm the creator of a platform called Screen Life Balance, which you can see at screenlifebalance.com, and the author of How to Pick Up Your Phone, which appears backwards to me, but hopefully you can see it. Yes, so it's really great to see everyone. I don't do Instagram really, so this is my first attempt at doing one of these live things, so we'll see how
Yeah,
this goes.
I know. I think it's new. It's definitely new to me as well. I've only started doing them in the last few weeks since it's one of the easiest ways to really get in touch with people. Since we in person isn't really an option anymore. Um, so I would love to know a little bit about what your inspiration was behind the book and a little bit about the book that you can tell us.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm a science journalist, and my previous work had been mostly about nutrition, actually. But about 5 years ago, I had a baby, and I had these moments where I would be up late at night with her, and I noticed that I was looking down at my phone as she was looking up at me,
Mhm.
and I really didn't like that because I realized that I was essentially, like, I knew from my science journalism background that babies can see just as far as the face of whoever's holding them, and that's presumably so that they can create an emotional bond with their caregiver. So the fact that I was not maintaining eye contact and was looking at my phone, I realized that really could be affecting her in a profound way. And then I just didn't want that to be the way that I experienced motherhood, or that she experienced her relationship with her mom. As a side note, I have like a limit set on social media sites, and it just said my limit's about to come up. I don't know what's going to happen when that happens. So if
Oh,
I
does it
disappear,
shut
I'll
off
come back. I don't
automatically?
know. I've never tried this.
Okay.
So, but if I disappear, that's why, and I'll be back. So
Okay.
it's all an adventure.
And so the whole concept of the book is sort of how to break up with your phone, which is interesting because we're currently communicating via our phones. Um, is there anything that you can tell us about creating a healthier relationship with social media?
Yes, I can tell you a lot about that. I mean, I think, irony noted that we're on Instagram right now. So social media is by far the biggest issue that I hear about from people when I ask them what they're struggling with. And so that's a result of the fact that these apps are deliberately gamified and made in a way that gets our brains to release a chemical called dopamine, which is essentially our brain's way of recording when something is worth doing again. And so you can trigger it with new information, with social affirmation, so likes, big dopamine trigger, rewards. So when you check Instagram and then you find something waiting for you, a new DM, anything like that, it's going to release dopamine, which is going to tell you that checking Instagram is something worth doing again. And then when you're not checking Instagram, you start to experience FOMO, the fear of missing out
Yeah.
on Instagram, let alone whatever you're worried about missing out on from the people in your Instagram feed,
Yeah.
which feels uncomfortable and actually can make you stressed out. So what do you do to alleviate the stress? Well, you check Instagram again. And they gamify everything. I mean, I can't read these things at the same time that I'm talking. This is like an example of how one can't multitask, but all those little hearts going on, like those are dopamine triggers. Those are built into the app so that it makes me be like, ooh, someone likes something. I don't know what you're liking, but there's hearts and it's near my face. So I guess I should be doing this more. So, and I was trying to figure out myself as an author, like, what do I do on social media that would be true to the spirit of who I am and what the book is. Again, by the way, I'm in my parents' house, like quarantining. I'm 41 years old. I've been here for 8 weeks, but I was like, thank goodness they have a copy of this book because I don't have a copy on my person. But anyway, I was like, what can I do with social media? And I thought, well, so many people struggle with social media, particularly Instagram. So maybe what I could do is start an Instagram feed that is specifically designed to help people get off of Instagram, which is not to say that you shouldn't use Instagram if you're genuinely enjoying it or it's useful or necessary. But it's designed to suck us into these endless scrolls and take our attention from us, which I should note is because that's how Instagram makes money. It's part of Facebook. Facebook is worth like more than $500 billion. or at least it was before the pandemic. And and so every minute you're spending scrolling through Instagram, you actually are making money for Instagram and for Facebook. And I think that recognizing the cost of your attention, the fact that Instagram's free, which means that we are not actually the customers, we're the product, and our attention is what is being sold. I thought that was really important to get across to people. So all that is to say, in addition to the account that you guys are looking at right now, I have a at Screen Life Balance account, which you can find on my profile. And if you follow that, you'll get regular messages that are automated, so I don't have to spend my own time on Instagram, that say things like, do you really want to be on Instagram right now? Or what is your goal for today? Or just little prompts that don't judge what you're doing, but basically ask you if you want to continue in your current behavior and gives you a little bit of a nudge to get off of Instagram if it's not what you want to be doing. And then my other exciting news is I'm just launching this week an official social media detox course that's on my website, screenlifebalance.com. And if you sign up for the mailing list, I'm going to do a discount to the mailing list subscribers. But I'm pretty excited about that because I've heard from so many people that social media is just really negatively affecting their self-esteem and their moods and all sorts of different aspects of their life, making them feel like they just don't have control over their own time. So I'm hopeful that that will help people. I can go on about social media
Yeah,
all day, but yeah.
definitely, definitely. Oh, also, just for anyone just joining us, we are talking to Catherine Price, who's the author of How to Break Up with Your Phone. If you guys have any questions, please drop them down below, and hopefully we'll be able to get to some at the end. Catherine, specifically dealing with maybe younger people and children are who are doing a lot of schoolwork on the computer, or sort of parents are struggling with knowing during this time how much screen time should I limit my kids to, and things like that. What do you have to say to that, given the current, I guess, stay-at-home order?
With the screen time with kids. Sorry, my limit was hit and it just kicked me out for a second. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's very important for us to recognize we're in an extreme situation right now. So I don't think there's any benefit, or really ever any benefit, for being too self-critical about ourselves. Like, you want to change or behave in how you behave because you want to and you know that's right for you, rather than feeling an artificial sense of pressure that something is something you should or should not do. I think it very much depends on the age of your children. My daughter's now 5, and so like really like what she goes to a Montessori preschool. I mean, like, it's experiential learning, and I feel that screens are not like, there's, what am I saying? I ask myself, what is the objective here? Like, what was she supposed to be achieving or learning or experiencing in school? And then how can we reach that outcome in a way that feels right to our family? I don't want her to be on screens all the time. And her age, I don't think that it's really necessary at all. Certainly she does watch some videos occasionally, but like, my goals for her is that she learn to read, and that she understand the basics of math, and that she learns how to think critically and intelligently and ask lots of questions. And so what are we doing? Well, we're reading lots of books with her. We're doing little science experiments because we're in a rural area right now. So we're kind of tracking spring and like catching frogs and things like
Yeah.
that. And then we're talking about numbers in the context of, like, we made waffles the other day and it happened to be cut into 4 pieces. And so I was like, well, how many pieces are there? Like, this is called a quarter. How many quarters do you think there are on $1? Like, doing stuff like that. So I think in general, it's useful to ask yourself, what are the actual objectives for your child, regardless of their age, during this time when there's no official school, and what is the best way for your child to get there? And that might include going to the, Khan Academy videos, or many of the other Coursera, like the amazing online resources that do exist for teaching. I don't think it should all be Zoom calls. That's kind of our attempts to just replicate a traditional educational experience in a medium that's not very good for it. And I would argue that's not a good educational technique anyway. All that is to say, I also do think it is very important to take breaks from screens, even more now than ever, because we're basically existing as just heads sitting on top of bodies and just eyes that are just staring at screens. It's very disconcerting and unsatisfying to have interactions like this. I mean, I'm very grateful that we're able to do it, but like, I can't look in your eyes. Like, right now I'm looking in your eyes, but I probably don't look like it because of where the camera
Yeah.
is, and we're having technical difficulties. So I think it's very important for everyone in the family to take breaks from their screens regularly throughout the day and get out and actually physically move, or just do something that doesn't involve sitting in front of a computer. You're not breathing the same when you're in front of a computer or phone. You're focusing on this one one spot that's not good for your eyes to do for a long period of time. Like you just don't want to overdo it. So I guess I'd say you don't want to beat yourself up over the fact that yes, life has transitioned and to a lot of technology. We're all using a lot of technology, but make sure that you feel good about the ways that you're using technology and that you take breaks from it. And also recognize the opportunity cost. Like, there's lots of things I'm really grateful for to my phone for that I can use it for, especially now. But then I also recognize if I do that thing, like if I'm, I don't know, reading something on the phone or listening to music, I'm not doing any of the other things I could be doing in my life. And just trying to recognize like what's important to me in a global sense so that I can figure out what amount of time I want to be spending in front of devices. I mean, just as a better example than that, like I realized I could work all day. Like I could sit in front of my computer from 7 in the morning until 10 at night and still have more to do,
Yeah.
and I'd feel productive and it would be a good use of the computer, but I'd also feel horrible and then I wouldn't do any of the other things that matter to me. So I've had to say, I'm going to set a limit for myself in the amount of time I'm going to sit here, without moving. And then I'm going to make a point, even if I'm not done, of going and doing something else, which I guess gets us to the subject of boundaries in general. But I think that's
Yeah.
even more important now.
What are those sort of time limits that you, I guess, recommend or that you even follow yourself? And I guess what should we be doing to sort of try to balance our lives and our screen time a little bit better?
Well, I think recognize that there's no magic number in terms of what amount of time is right for you and that it varies by person and also varies by the day or the context of like what you're trying to do. So I don't recommend being like, oh, I can only spend X amount of time. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe you do. Like the reason I'm backtracking there is that I actually did think to myself the other day, like, what if I just said, you're going to sit in front of or do not sit straight, but like do computer work for 4 hours a day and make it really productive work and then do something else.
Hmm.
So I think it could be interesting to experiment with little limits like that you just try out for yourself. Will
Yeah.
I always stick to it? No. But in terms of the phone, I think it's important on all devices to ask yourself, what are you doing on the device and how is it making you feel? So if it's something that's essential, but unpleasant, you kind of just have to do it. But if it's not essential and it's unpleasant, then you don't have to do it. And if it's enjoyable, then truly enjoyable, like don't beat yourself up over that. We all need some sources of pleasure now. And
Yeah.
sometimes people just want to binge watch something on Netflix, but also recognize that there may be a point after which you feel disgusting and that then you want to stop. So the more awareness you can cultivate about how you feel in the moment about what you're doing on your phone or really in life in general, the more control you'll have. And I recommend people think about it with the analogy of food, where, we wouldn't just say food is just one lump thing. Like screen time is a dumb way to think about it because there's all sorts of different uses of our screens. I find this to be a much better use of screens than scrolling through Instagram would be. So think of it the same way as food. There's different types of foods. There are different nutritional values to the food. There are foods where, you really enjoy eating them in small doses, maybe as a treat. But then if you keep eating that chocolate cake, you're going to reach a point where you feel absolutely disgusting. So you got to know where that stopping point is. But I think it's a continual process of experimentation. And you also need to have the awareness that part of the challenge is that there are extremely powerful companies with extremely good designers creating apps that make it very difficult to do that. And I honestly think we should be a bit angry at the app makers for that because, I mean, I understand it's their profit motive, but the amount of time that is being sucked away from people without them realizing it, and then even when they do realize it, in ways that they don't feel they can control, it's very sad. Like I hear from people all the time who are truly struggling with this. It's not a trivial issue. And that goes for parents and kids and adults, like everybody. People telling me they don't feel present in their life. They feel out of control. They feel like automatons. Yeah, they're not present in anything that they're doing. Their phone is making their attention span worse. I mean, this is not a trivial thing. And I think now that we are spending so much more time on our devices, it's a time to gently become curious about how this is making us feel and with compassion, look at our own habits and just see what we can possibly change so that we take care of ourselves, because I think that's also really important to be doing right now. The stronger you are mentally, the better your physical health will be, because anything that stresses you out will actually increase the level of stress hormones in a way that actually can reduce your immunity. So there's like a legit reason to really be trying to take care of ourselves. Um, I also think it's really important to identify what you want to do with your time because these apps are designed to fill it. So how do you want to fill your time? Don't let the app decide that for you or your email inbox. right? We all need to think of like what's actually enjoyable or important to us. Like I want to play a lot of music, like I want to get better at guitar and piano. So that means I really should limit how much time I spend on email because every minute I'm spending on email is a minute I can't spend on those other things. But I have
Yeah.
to know that. Otherwise, email could just fill up my entire day.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a question from someone that I sort of want to blend with a question of my own. So the question is, what would you say to people who don't want to delete the apps on their phone because they still want to use it for their social life? And then I guess my question also is, in doing that, are there any apps you would recommend to maybe limit the amount of screen time or cap the amount of screen time we're using on certain apps?
Yeah, so first of all, definitely don't have it on your home screen. If you're trying to, what am I saying? Psychiatrists would call this the ease of access. Like if you've got a drug addiction and you have some kind of drug paraphernalia like in your pocket at all times, or even like you're smoking and you have cigarettes in your pocket, well, of course you're going to reach for them because they're right there. And we have our phones in our pockets all the time. That habit is likely not going to change for a lot of people, but at very least, don't have those apps on your home screen. Bury them somewhere so you have to search for them so that you don't just have your finger drift over to the Instagram button
Yeah.
without you realizing it. But I would also say, and these, by the way, these are some of the exercises I help people go through in this social media detox course I mentioned that I'm launching this week. But you can delete the app because you can always reinstall it. So I talk about this as a on again, off again relationship because Instagram is never going to get rid of your data. Like it's just not. So you don't have to worry about that. It'll even make it really easy to log in, even if you delete the app. It's like, do you want to remember your login information forever? And if you say yes, then like it just will. So I recommend what people experiment with is take a deep breath, and when you're done with whatever level of Instagram was fun or useful or made you feel connected, delete it. And it's going to say, do you really want to delete it? And you say, yes, I do. And then, sorry, I'm not supposed to do that. And then you do some obscene gesture that was totally not what I just did. That was my second finger, everyone. You saw that. And, and delete it for a while and see how it feels. And if you decide in 20 seconds you want to reinstall that app, you can. But maybe you don't. Maybe you say, okay, for the next couple hours, I'm going to keep it off my phone. Then when you want to use Instagram, that's when you reinstall it. That's when you know that you made the choice to do it because you had to overcome this little speed bump, this like
Hmm.
15-second delay that it
Yeah.
took because really it's going to download fast. So that is actually, I really would encourage you, despite your hesitation, asker of that question, to try it, but not do it with a sense of restriction. You're not doing this because you can't use Instagram. You're doing it because you would like to do other things than Instagram, and you would like to use Instagram when you want to use Instagram, not when Instagram wants you to use Instagram, which is all the time. The other thing I would say is, please, for the love of God, go into your notification settings and adjust them
Oh,
because
yes.
Instagram wants you to
I
know every
that's
time.
why not?
I mean, it's insane. So, two levels of that, go into Instagram settings and pick the notifications you want within Instagram, which I was shocked and appalled when I saw how many notifications it wanted to send me. I'm like, I only want to know when someone comments. I don't even want to know about the likes because that's gamification, slot machine that's there to get you back. But you can decide what's right for you. And then go into your phone settings and turn off the Instagram notifications. That means that you won't get a banner every time someone does one of those things that you pre-identified you want to hear about. Although you can customize this. I don't want to have banners. I don't want to have the little red badges that show up on your home screen that show you how many emails you have or how many notifications are waiting. Those are notifications. Very hard not to touch that because the red is specifically chosen to draw us in. So if you reduce or turn off those notifications on your phone, what you're doing is you're making sure that A, you're only getting the notifications for the sorts of information you want to find out about, and B, you're only going to get it when you have proactively decided to go into Instagram. So this is all circling around the same theme of wanting you to be in control rather than Instagram being in control. And that's the goal, guys. Like it doesn't matter how much time you decide to spend on Instagram as long as you actually decided. If you're in control and you feel in control, that's the goal. Got me a little worked up there.
Well, on that note, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today on Instagram.
Well, thank you for having
Um,
me. And I'm going to say I've
yeah.
been sending out regular newsletters during this pandemic to, try to help people cope and figure out how to create screen life balance in a time when our entire lives have shifted onto screens. So if anyone's interested in more of that, the sign up is at screenlifebalance.com. And as I said, I'm launching this social media detox course that I'd love people to check out, and give me your feedback on. And then I've been trying to do live chats and Q&As with people, so they can ask questions like this. So that's all just if you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get info. But I really appreciate it. This is
Yeah, of
yeah.
course. This was so great. I feel like I've definitely learned a lot, and I may or may not be deleting my Instagram app this
I would
week.
encourage you. Okay,
I
everybody, can
think
we
I
just
might
have a
try it.
challenge for a moment and like do it and then report back? And you can tell me either on my account or on that Screen Life Balance account I mentioned, but just try it. And again, like
Yeah,
20 seconds later, you can do, but just see. And I also would say it's a good time to do it like in the evening, giving yourself a couple hours where you're just not responding to stuff can be really helpful. So, but I'd be very curious to hear how it goes.
I
And if
know.
you feel like
I'm curious.
really mad at me for that suggestion, you probably should really try it.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a great Tuesday.
And turn off Instagram now. Bye, guys.
Bye.